Now let's break down our final breaking story of the day, and that's a $100 million price prediction per coin for Bitcoin as per Fidelity, one of the world's largest asset management companies. They control currently over $4 trillion in assets under management. The other year, they were maybe as high as $8 trillion. So, it fluctuates. But again, one of the largest asset managers in the world. Let's break this down, shall we? While several retail analysts have been given some crazy targets for Bitcoin, this time investment giant Fidelity has made some mind-blowing predictions in its recently held very special webinar. Just FYI, this prediction was made back in September of 2021 on 100 million by the year 2035. And a few months later, he ultimately said, I think we're a little bearish. Let's raise it 10x to $1 billion per coin by the year 2038. So I'm going to be breaking both of these predictions down for you here in just a moment. Now, Fidelity has been in the crypto space for a while. The financial giant has its own crypto subsidiary offering enterprise-grade Bitcoin custodial services to institutions, drawing inferences through the stock-to-flow model by Plan B. Fidelity has put forward a 100 million price target for Bitcoin by the year 2035. And furthermore, it sees Bitcoin touching a 1 million price target in a decade's time. Bitcoin's exchange guide was the first to report about it. Shout out to the Bitcoin exchange guide. Now, Jurian Timmer, director of global macro, was the host of the webinar, and he shared several charts helping the audience to understand Bitcoin. Now, is it even a realistic expectation for Bitcoin to touch that $100 million mark? Well, although we have 15 years of the time horizon to touch these targets, it seems unrealistic at this point, one of the crypto analysts on Reddit noted. And furthermore, Timmer also shared charts showing the Bitcoin adoption curve based on its active address count. He also showed an interesting comparison with internet users, broadband subscriptions, as well as mobile phone users. And interestingly, the webinar put some light on the purchasing power of different asset classes. Stocks were the clear winner, followed by bonds and cash. The purchasing power of the US dollar stood the least. The yellow metal, aka physical gold, isn't even doing better at $94, whereas the inflation index has skyrocketed to 65. And after staying under pressure for the past 2 days, Bitcoin ends on another attempt for 50,000. And again, this was going all the way back to 2021. So a few months later, Jurian Timmer, head of global macro at Fidelity, makes another very interesting prediction that the Bitcoin price is not going to 100 million no more. It's going to $1 billion per coin by the year 2038. So let's talk about how realistic this could be. To support his forecast, Timmer employed a combination of models and charts with a particular focus of the stock-to-flow model and his own demand model. These analytical tools form the foundation for his primary prediction, and you could actually see in this chart brought to you by Fidelity. The above demand model employs Metcalfe's law, and according to this, the number of its users grows linearly. A network's value, or by inference, the Bitcoin price grows geometrically. This means that the utility and the adoption of Bitcoin are expected to grow more rapidly compared to its network of users, exchanges, ATMs, and participating retailers. Therefore, this model predicted the Bitcoin price to reach $1 million by 2030. And let's talk about that really quick, because we also have other major influencers in the space, including ARK Invest is Cathie Wood, also predicting a $1 million Bitcoin price. We have Michael Saylor, we have Max Kaiser, we have Plan B of the stock-to-flow model, and the list goes on and on. But anyways, back to this prediction. In contrast, Timmer's stock-to-flow supply model noted the event of significant price surges during each halving event. Consequently, when considering this model in conjunction to other factors, it foresees a price range of $1 million to $10 million for Bitcoin by the year 2030, virtually the same prediction as the stock-to-flow model. Timmer's demand model is more inclined towards reflecting the bottom of the Bitcoin price, but on the other hand, the stock-to-flow model seems to provide a better approximation for the peak of the king coin. However, it's worth noting that the disparity between these two models widens significantly beyond the year 2030. The reason behind the gap is expected to be the changing value of the dollar. Can anyone say hyperinflation coming to the USD? Timmer proposes that the value of the dollar undergoes fluctuations over time when compared to other assets. For instance, if $1 was invested in stocks during the 18th century, its present day value would be about $4 billion. That's crazy, right? And similarly, Timmer implied that if $1 million is invested today, it can grow to $1 billion in a span of 20 years. So he's virtually saying, want to become a billionaire? Just invest $1 million into Bitcoin and hodl be thy name. same. This further revealed that the purchasing power of the dollar has significantly reduced due to the factors like inflation as well as depreciation. Thus, Timmer's statement implied that keeping a fixed amount of dollars for many years may lead to a reduced purchasing power due to the assets changing value. And I think he makes a great point. As Michael Saylor called it, it's like a melting ice cube keeping fiat currency in the bank. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Now check it. Over the last few years, an increasing number of companies are taking over the $1 trillion market cap mark. As a result, it is foreseeable that in the next 2 decades, 20 years, the concept of a $1 trillion valuation will become more common, so much that individuals themselves could be worth $1 trillion or even more. The scale of numbers may even reach the quadrillion range. I already know for a fact people like Michael Saylor and CZ, the Binance CEO, will become trillionaires, mark my words. And despite Bitcoin's historical growth, it has recently faced a significant setback. Bitcoin's network activity had diminished. Well, again, this is going tracing that back. Higher network activity likely increased transaction volume. Well, something I have to point out, yesterday, as I covered in the show, we just reached a new difficulty adjustment, the highest it's ever been. The hash rate continues to go up. And as Max Kaiser commonly says, the Bitcoin price follows the hash rate. So we'll likely see how the Bitcoin price will likely play out, by the time of the next halving, which again is 8-9 months away in 2024. And then of course, by 2030, will the Bitcoin price be $1 million or $10 million? Will the US dollar be hyperinflated by that time?